Hello and welcome to Where Are They Now with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is Mark Tewksbury, who is a former Olympic gold medal winning swimmer, an author, a business coach, a motivational speaker, many other things. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
No problem, Mario. But you're never former. I'm still an Olympic champion,
Well,
not
that's
just
true.
former. It's
Okay, you're not
it's
a
just I'm
former,
stuck with
you're
it for
current.
life.
You're always a former swimmer.
Yes, former swimmer,
Yeah.
perfect.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Mark. Hey, let's start with what you're before we get into some of the Olympic swimming stuff and your career as a University of Calgary Dino athlete. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now today.
Today, so right now I've got 44 students going through a 12-week virtual leadership program from 10 different Canadian cities and 2 American cities that I run with Debbie Muir, my business partner, who's famous Calgary coach as well. And it's a leadership pathway that people go over 12 weeks. It's really exciting, and that's kind of my gig these days. Debbie and I took our experience from winning the Olympics and all kinds of different moments in our life in the Olympic movement and distilled it into high performance traits that we teach to corporate or to anybody that wants to improve their life.
The company's called
Great Traits.
Great Trade. And tell me a little bit of the background and history. When did you start it?
So Debbie and I worked together the Olympic year. She was kind of my secret weapon, and I made a massive improvement, like dropped 1.2 seconds, basically made 7 years improvement in 10 months. We, after I came back from the Olympics, went to Banff and just talked about what we did. And that talk in 1992, in 2007, became a book called The Great Traits of Champions. And Debbie and I formed our company in 2008. So for the past 12 years, we've been doing this. But it was interesting. After we won the Olympics together, we went our separate ways. We stayed very good friends,
Yeah.
but nothing professionally. And then after almost 2 decades, we came back together, and it's a wonderful overnight success.
Okay, not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure there's a ton of great traits out there. What do you think some of the key ones are? Well, can you highlight some of the key great traits that people need to be successful in sports, in business, and in life, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's 24 great traits. That's why we take people over a 12-week program, because there's so much to teach. And it's kind of like learning an alphabet, like there's 26 letters in the alphabet. But if I was to pick my favorite letters in the alphabet, it's like my favorite traits. I think right now one that's big for me is embrace contradictions. And that's just understanding that in these uncertain times, you may have to do things you never thought you'd do or said you'd never do, but given the circumstance, it's the best way forward. And to be open to that and to finding that best way no matter what, not just falling into a rut. And I think another one is show conviction. I think that right now people crave certainty. And
Yeah.
if you're in a leadership position, there's so much uncertain, of course, but if you can find the things that you know for sure and you believe in and you can instill that in your people, it's going to help a little bit of this mentality that's happening right now, which is that flee mentality, right? Because we can't focus on anything because we're a little bit stressed. So I think those are two good traits off the top of my head to throw down during a pandemic.
Okay, super then. Let's look back at your sports career. Go back to your Dino days at the University of Calgary. What made that program so strong? And it was a very strong program while you were there.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I joined the Dino Swim Club, and I think that's part of what made it strong. It was a university program, but it was also affiliated with a club swimming program.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was almost a Dino when I was 15, and I was starting to train around the university team with the senior group. There was all sorts of factors, great coaching. Derek Snelling came in and he had a lot of experience in getting people to the Olympics. He was a real motivator. That brought a lot of people together. So it was like a hub of talent that pushed each other. And then we had really sophisticated, advanced technology stuff for that time, like Dr. David Smith and all the physiology training and
Yeah.
testing that we did. So it was a real great combination of factors, I think. And something about being affiliated with the university helped Derek get him there. And then being affiliated with the club enabled people like me that was kind of young to start on that pathway with him.
Okay, super then. Anything that you remember from that time that you think were some of the best, I guess, best lessons you've learned through the swimming and through the program that helped you become who you are today?
Well, I mean, I really appreciated the seriousness that Derek took to winning and at every level, at the club nationals, but equally at the CIAUs. Back in those days, it was called the
Yeah,
CIAUs, the University Championships. And never taking it for granted and swimming as much as you had to, not just your best events, but extra events and relays for the sake of the team winning. And that was, I was very happy to be part of such a winning and great team. People often think swimming is an individual sport, which it kind of is. But at the end of the day, you can't do that training without people pulling you through. And I was really lucky to have such a great team. So those lessons, and Mary, I just remember like going to dual meets, and it's you against another university, and it's head to head. And whether that was UBC or Stanford
yeah,
or U of T or whoever it was so thrilling and exciting. And I think that's part of what makes university sports so great, is it's really all on the line, perform on demand, head to head action.
yeah. So I was always curious, and so everybody knows, during those years, I was a sports reporter at the Herald, and covered the swim team as well as other sporting groups. But one thing that I always got curious about you guys as swimmers is, man, you guys got up early in the morning.
I
How
know.
how do you guys do that, especially at that young age?
Yeah, I never liked it. I still don't like it, but it was part of the job. And it's just, unfortunately, in swimming, we have a heats, a preliminaries, and a finals. And we swim both things on the same day. And to train yourself to get ready for that, you have to do 2 swimming sessions. And because most of us have school, we had to fit it in always before school. So it just became part of the routine, but something I sure don't miss.
Yeah.
I had about nightmares for about 10 years after I stopped swimming, that I had to wake up and go to morning workout, because it's not just getting up at 5, it's diving into freezing cold water when it's minus 20 outside at 5:45 a.m. That was really hard to do.
I see. But it paid off, right?
Totally.
And they're going to ask you about 1992 gold medal in the 100-meter backstroke. What do you remember most about that day?
I remember every single element of that day. It's like burned into my brain. But I think my favorite part was when it was all over and the shock was still setting in, and I saw my parents outside the security, before I realized I had to swim the next day on a relay. I had to get back and rest. But just for a moment, I could just sort of believe that this had just happened with my family there. It was very surreal, but a beautiful moment.
Yeah. Um, did you ever think, when you're going through all the routine and the practice and the laps, did you ever think that it would end at that moment?
I mean, I guess I did on some level. That was the dream. But I think, I do remember just hours before the actual race where there's a moment where your dream and your reality actually converge, when you're on the cusp of making it come true. And that was a really interesting moment. That was probably where I had to step through and say, okay, the moment's here, and I'm either going to take it or not. But yeah, it's a good point. You dream of something like that for so long. What I didn't know, Mario, was that I would stop swimming after that. I didn't realize at the Olympics themselves what would happen when I got back home to Canada, and that would actually be my last formal swimming race. I wouldn't retire until February. I took some time just to think about what I would do, but I never really got back to training ever again.
Oh, okay, then super. Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Mark.
Thanks, Mario. Go Dinos, go.
Great. That was Mark Tewksbury, who is an Olympic gold medal winner in swimming. He's also an author and motivational speaker, and runs a company with Deputy Muir in Calgary called Great Traits. Thanks for joining us today, Mark. And this has been This has been Where Are They Now with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media.